Turkey Finance Participation Bank's 29th General Assembly is about to start. I'd like to welcome you all. As you know, because of the pandemics, the presidential directive and the internal directive stipulated that we cancel our General Assembly meeting on the 27th of March, and this was published in the official gazette dated March 25, 2020. Thankfully, everyone is here, healthy, and I would like to welcome you all once again. Before we get started, I have a couple of reminders. At the entrance, our colleagues reminded you anyway. I would like to extend my cordial greetings to our shareholders and representatives, the Ministry Commissioner, BRSA controllers, the board members, bank employees, independent audit company Ernst & Young representatives, and other participants. We're very happy to see you. We see the agenda of today's meeting on the screen. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Emre Mandacı to share the agenda. Microphone, please. There are 15 items on the agenda of the 29th General Assembly meeting of Türkiye Finans. First, opening and formation of the Presidential Board. 2, presentation, discussion, and approval of the 2019 annual report of the Board of Directors. 3, presentation and discussion of the 2019 report of independent auditors. 4, presentation, discussion, and approval of the financial statements of 2019. 5, release of the members of the Board of Directors who served in 2019 for the activities of 2019. 6, determination of the usage of the profit of the year 2019. 7, election of the board members. 8, determination. 9, election of independent committee for the accounting period of 2020. 10, amendment of Article 11.1 of the company's Articles of Association in the form of amendment provided in Annex 1. 11, approval of the advisory committee members. Those are appointed by the Board of Directors in accordance with Article 4.2 of Communiqué on Compliance with Interest-Free Banking Principles and Standards. 12, within the scope of Article 19.2 of the Regulation of the Procedures and Principles for Classification of Loans and Provisions to be set aside, giving approval to be able to charge the share of participation provisions of the bank to the bank's expense accounts. 13, authorization of the Board of Directors for conducting necessary operations and transactions within the scope of Article 610 of the Regulation on the Procedures and Principles regarding acceptance and withdrawals of deposit and participation funds, State-to-Bar deposit, participation fund, fiduciary and receivables. 14, approval of the share buyback program, allowing TFKB to acquire its own shares as per Article 379 of TCC and the authorization of the board within the framework of this program. 15, wishes and closing. Thank you, Emre. Before we get started, I have another reminder. The Ministry Commissioner, under their supervision, based on the Turkish Commercial Code Article 413, we have to have a certain agenda in this General Assembly meeting. So please, if you have any questions, share them during the relevant item. And if it is not a relevant item, based on the legislation, you can state your views during the wishes and closing. And this will enable a healthy closure of our General Assembly meeting. Thank you for your kind collaboration. And in the Articles of Association of the bank, in the internal directive, there are certain regulations. Based on these regulations, during the entrance to this room, there are electronic devices that are defined for your name. You will vote on that basis. If you're going to vote yes, press yes. If you're going to vote no, please press no. And if you do not want to vote, it will count as no. Now, I would like to start the agenda. So, item number 1 is discussion of Article 7 of the Internal Directive and Article 17 of the Article of Association. Mr. Çiftçi, representative of NCB, will create the presidency of the meeting. I will be the chairman for this meeting, Süleyman Murat Akşam. The votes will be collected by Itır Çiftçi and Erman Kalkandelen, Ahmet Mert, and the secretary will be Emre Mandacı. Please vote yes or no for this first item. So it is approved. Now I will proceed with item number 2. I invite Itır Hanım, Ahmet Bey, Özlem Hanım, and Emre Bey. Now we will continue with item 2, reading of the statement for 2019. I would like to invite Mete Kanat. Distinguished shareholders, welcome to the 29th General Assembly. On behalf of the board, we greet you with respect. Now, about 2019, before we present the financial statements to your approval, I would like to talk about some macroeconomic developments during the year. In 2019, there was a decline in global trade volume. There was monetary easing, US-China trade wars, slowdown of Chinese and European economies, increase in public spending and capital inflow into developing countries. Those were the agenda items in the world's economic and financial markets. Turkish economy demonstrated a 0.9% growth compared with the same quarter of the prior year after 3 consecutive quarters of the shrinking period. In terms of external balance, 2019 was the first year since 2001 with current surplus. One of the major wins for Turkey in 2009 was the decline in consumer price inflation to 11.8% from 2018 rate of 2.3%. In 2020, it is anticipated that concerns of economic slowdown will give its way to recovery as a result of expansionary policy actions taken by central banks and recent reduction of stress arising from trade wars. In 2019, participation banks' assets, funds collected, and funds allocated have registered a growth over and above the banking industry. Participation banking continued to improve and grow with innovative and solution-oriented services provided towards the needs of the real sector. In 2019, banking sector's assets increased by 16% to 492 billion TL, while participation banks' assets reached 284 billion TL with an increase of 37%. Sector's funds allocated has increased by 12% to reach 2,748 billion TL, while participation banks demonstrate the performance above the sector and increased the funds allocated by 21%. While the banking sector's deposit increased by 25% to 2,688 billion TL, funds collected by participation banks increased by 57% to reach 219 billion TL. As of 2019, rear and net profit of the banking sector has been 19.8 billion TL with an 8% decrease, while the participation bank's net profit increased by 16%. In terms of 2019 operating results, Türkiye Finans continued to provide services in 2019 without compromising quality through 310 branches, 3,461 personnel, 636 ATMs, mobile and internet branches with superior technological infrastructure and call center. We continue to pioneer the industry with the efforts we receive and adopt the principles of winning together and sharing together with our motto, participate in life. and our bank was granted Turkey's Best Participation Bank Award by Islamic Finance News platform, which provides successful services in the area of Islamic banking. As far as 2019 financial figures are concerned, the asset size of our bank increased by 11% YOY to reach 52.4 billion TL. Gross funds allocated which constitutes 63% of total assets, were realized as 33.3 billion. Funds collected increased by 49%, amounting to 40 billion TL as of 2019 year-end. Current account funds of our bank increased by 54% to reach 15 billion TL. As of 2019 year-end, share of assets and funds allocated of Türkiye Finans was 1.2% of the industry total, and funds collected had a share of 1.5%. When we look at the shares of Türkiye Finans in participation banks for the same period, we see that assets and funds collected has a share of 18% and funds allocated a share of 21%. As of 2019 year-end, profit before tax was 477 million TL, and net profit for the period was 378 million TL. Keeping its strong capital structure, Türkiye Finans increased its equity by 12% to TL 4.8 billion TL. As of December 2019, our capital adequacy ratio was 17.26%. I present this to your vote. We have submitted our annual report, and it's for your review and approval. On behalf of the Board of Directors, we would like to thank all of our shareholders, employees, and customers for their contribution to our success and their confidence in our bank. We greet you, our valuable partners, with respect for your honorable presence in our General Assembly. Thank you, Mete Bey. So I present item 2 for your votes. We have 10 seconds. Please vote. Item 2 is also approved. We will proceed with item 3 of our agenda. In order to read the independent audit report for 2019, I will invite our independent auditor, Ernst & Young representative. To the General Assembly of Türkiye Finans Participation Bank, report on the consolidated financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the accompanying consolidated financial statements of Türkiye Finans Katılım, the bank, in parentheses, and its subsidiaries, which will be referred to as the group, which comprise the statement of consolidated statement of financial position as at 31st of December 2019, consolidated statement of profit or loss, and consolidated statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, consolidated statement of changes in shareholders' equity, and consolidated statement of cash flows for the year that ended, and the notes to the consolidated financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the consolidated financial position of Türkiye Finans Participation Bank as at December 31st, 2019, and financial performance, and consolidated its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with the prevailing accounting principles and standards set out as in accordance with Regulation on Accounting Applications for Banks and Safeguarding of Documents published in the Official Gazette number 26333 dated November 1st, 2006, and other regulations on accounting records of banks published by Banking Regulation and Supervision Agencies, circulars, interpretations published by BRSA and BRSA accounting and financial reporting legislation, which includes the provisions of Turkish financial reporting standards for the matters which are not regulated by these regulations. Thank you. We will proceed with item number 4. In order to read the financial statement for 2019, I invite Mr. Mete Kanat to the podium. Summary consolidated financials. Assets 52 billion 194 million TL. Financial assets net 17 billion 648 million. Loans gross 31 billion 722 million. Fixed assets net 1 billion 231 million. Other assets 1 billion 594 million. Liabilities, total funds 39 billion 974 million, current accounts 15 billion 13 million, participation accounts 24 billion 961 million, funds borrowed 1 billion 908 million, marketable securities issued 1 billion 614 million, subordinated debts 1 billion 498 million, shareholders equity 4 billion 837 million TL, paid in capital 2 billion 600 million, other liabilities 2 billion 363 million, non-cash loans 7 billion 327 million, income and expense items, profit share income 4 billion 479 million, profit share expense 2 billion 538 million, net profit share income 1 billion 940 million, net fees and commissions income 141 million, other income 836 million 236,000, other expenses 2 billion 442 million, profit loss before tax 476 million, tax provision 98 million, net profit loss 377 billion 429,000 TL. Thank you. I would like to present it to your votes. It is approved. Now I will proceed with the next item, with your permission. Item 5, the release of board members who served in 2019 because of activities in 2019. I present it to your votes. It is approved. We will continue with the next item, item number 6. I want to invite Mr. Mete Kanat to read the determination of the usage of the profit for the year 2019. It was the tax was 400. It was resolved that the bank would set aside 20 billion TL as the first legal reserve required by Article 519 to 1 of the Turkish Commercial Code from the current period net profit of 378 million TL, which was the amount remaining after the deduction of 98,978,000 TL in taxes and dues payable from the profit before tax of 477 million TL for the 2019 period. The remaining amount of 358 million would be set aside as extraordinary reserve. This proposal was submitted to the General Assembly for their approval. I present it to your approval. The voting process has started. Thank you. It is approved. I will share this information about this item. 3,125 million TL premium was paid to the personnel for their performance in 2019. We will continue with item number 7. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I will present item 7, which is the selection of the board members. For the 6 board members, aside from the board director, we have Vail Abdulaziz, Macet Algamdi, Meliç Ulu Şahin, Müge Öner, Eren Güra, and Lama Ahmet Gazavi, I would like to present to your votes that they're selected as the board members.
Adopted. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item on our agenda. And also here's a bit of an information. In February 2020, Mr. Wael Abdulaziz resigned and myself was appointed, and I'd like to inform the General Assembly about that also. Item number 8, correction. Mr. Commissary, let's move on. Remuneration Committee recommended that in 2021, until the first ordinary General Assembly, remunerations per annum net 600,000 euro has been set as a threshold due to COVID-19. In March 2020, General Assembly was actually cancelled, and regarding remunerations, the threshold was surpassed, and that amount will be deducted from the next amount, and the board will be given the authority to determine how this is to be conducted. It looks as if this has also been adopted, Mr. Commissary. Let's move on to the next item on our agenda, which is item 9, 2020 financial sheets will be audited by Ernst & Young, and this is presented to the approval of the General Assembly. Thank you very much. This has also been adopted. Moving on, number 10. This has to do with the charter of our company and regarding electronic General Assemblies in our company. In the upcoming period, General Assemblies can be organized online, and before I present it to your approval, I would like to invite Emre Mandacı to read out the article, relevant article, which is Article 11.
Madde başlığı Ortaklar Genel Kurulu, Olağan ve Olağanüstü Genel Kurul. Madde 11.1. Ortaklar Genel Kurulu
General Assembly of Shareholders, Ordinary and Extraordinary General Assembly Meetings, Article 11, 11.1. General Assembly of Shareholders may hold ordinary and extraordinary meetings. Ordinary General Assembly meetings are held at least once a year with a period of 3 months following the end of each accounting period. The subjects stated in Article 409 of Turkish Commercial Code are discussed and related resolutions are produced in such meetings. Ordinary General Assembly meetings are held at the time deemed necessary in the course of company's activities pursuant to the provision of Turkish Commercial Code. The Board of Directors is responsible for holding General Assembly meetings in accordance with principles and procedures stipulated in relegated legislations. Beneficiaries entitled to participate in the company's General Assembly meetings may take part in such meetings through electric environment as per Article 1527 of Turkish Commercial Code in accordance with provisions of regulations on General Assembly meetings in the electronic environment in joint stock companies. The company may either establish the electronic General Assembly system that will allow the beneficiaries to participate in the General Assembly meetings in the electronic environment, state their opinions, make recommendations and cast votes, or it may acquire services from already established systems for such purpose. As per this provision of the Articles of Association, in all General Assembly meetings to be held, it is ensured that beneficiaries and their representatives are enabled to use their rights specified in the aforementioned provisions of the regulation through such system established. Yes, we hope to see you here, but we need to add this to our statutes to make sure that if needs be, we can also hold these meetings online. this requires an 80% as per that rule. We have not achieved that majority, so this will be declined. This has been rejected.
Evet, ana sözleşme gereği maalesef çoğunluğu
Yes, we do not have the majority, which is 80%. That's why this has been turned down. Article 11. Let's move on to Article 11.
bankacılık ilke ve standartları
This is interest-free banking principles and standards. Communique 4/2. Advisory Board Hayrettin Karaman, İshak Emin Aktepe, and Vejdi Akyüz appointments are presented to the approval of the General Assembly.
kabul edilmiştir.
Adopted.
Sadece 12. maddeye geçelim.
Now let us move on to Article 12 regarding the classification of loans and reserves.
19'a ikinci maddesi
Directive 19/2
bankaların hesaplarına yansıtılmasının onaylanmasını genel
reflecting the reserves on the outgoings accounts of the bank. Again, this is presented to the approval of the General Assembly.
kabul edilmiştir. Teşekkür ederim.
Likewise, adopted. Thank you very much.
Bir sonraki maddeye geçelim.
Let us move on to the next item, which has to do with the adoption of the Deposit and Participation Fund. Its statute of limitations, Directive 6/10. In order to implement certain procedures, the board must be authorized, and this mandate is now presented to the approval of the General Assembly.
Kabul edilmiştir. Teşekkür ederim.
Yes, adopted. Thank you.
Son maddemiz 14.
Our last item, item 14, Turkish Commercial Code, Article 379. This is about the equity share buyback program, giving the board the mandate to accomplish this. Now, in order to give more information to us regarding this provision, we would like to, before we initiated the voting, let us now invite Mr. Mete Kanat to inform us about the equity share buyback program. The purpose of the buyback program, this share buyback program is aimed towards meeting the share sale requests of shareholders, fulfilling the criteria specified in this program by Türkiye Finans Katılım Bankası through the bank's purchase of such shares. Even in the case that the entirety of the funds allocated for such share buyback is used up, it will not have any effect on the bank's financial structure. This buyback program does not involve the banks taking its own shares as pledge in any way. 2. Total fund amount allocated for equity share buyback and its source. Up to 5 million Turkish lira has been allocated as the total amount of share buyback. Cash assets acquired through the bank's activities will be utilized in the program. Once the price of the shares that will be bought back are deducted, the remaining net assets of the bank will exceed the principal or issued capital, as well as total reserves which are prohibited from profit distribution by law and AOA. 3. Total nominal value and number of shares planned to be bought back. It will be possible to buy back the shares belonging to shareholders who, on a personal basis, possess less than a maximum nominal value of 300,000 Turkish lira, that's 300,000 parts of shares, according to the share ledger, as of the date on which this buyback program is approved by the General Assembly and who are interested in selling their shares to the bank. In total, nominal value of shares eligible for purchase shall not exceed 1.5 million Turkish. Since TFKB has 2.6 million shares at a nominal value of 2.6 million Turkish in total. Total nominal value of shares eligible for the buyback is less than 0.1% of the shares making up our bank's registered capital. Upper and lower price limits for the buyback, the valuation of share prices with the nominal value of 1 Turkish will be based on the valuation study conducted by KPMG on basis of the financial statements as of 31st of December 2019. The lower price limit in the repurchase of shares will be 1 Turkish, and the upper limit 3 Turkish for each share at the nominal value of 1 Turkish. In any case, the lowest and highest price limits defined in KPMG study will be taken into consideration as reference on condition of remaining within such a price margin. TFKB Board of Directors is authorized to carry out the transactions which require adjustments upon the price within the total allocated funds. 5. Authorization for share buyback. General Assembly will authorize the Board of Directors to use, when necessary, the power to purchase through this buyback program the shares belonging to the bank's shareholders who meet the criteria specified in this buyback program. Date of the GA when the program will be submitted for approval, that's the 29th Ordinary General Assembly meeting that will be held by the bank on the 4th of August 2020. Term of authority to be requested from the General Assembly for share buyback program. The bank's Board of Directors will be empowered for the buyback program from the date of GA, where the program will be put to vote until 9th of November 2020, including that day. The board shall be authorized to end the buyback program before 9th of November 2020 if deemed necessary. Procedures and principles regarding share buyback. The transfer of shares which will be repurchased by the bank via this program to the bank will take place through their handover to the bank physically, the handover to the bank of a release certificate in order to release the bank of this buyback, and the signing of delivery receipt documents by the parties to the share buyback. The board shall be authorized to establish the procedures and principles to be adhered to in the buying back of shares. Declaration of the fulfillment of legal requirements. The bank's board declared that the legal requirements are in place with regard to this share buyback program. Thank you very much. Again, let us initiate the voting.
Kabul edilmiştir.
Adopted.
Teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you.
Son maddemiz
Yes, our final item is wishes and additional comments. If anyone would like to make additional comments from our shareholders, from our attendees here today, let us now entertain those questions. First of all, I would like to greet everyone present here at this General Assembly. We rub shoulders with the members of the public all the time, and this new model has not been communicated to the members of the public as well as it could have been. People have these misconceptions about interest rates, so this model that we have devised must be communicated to the public better. That's my additional comment. Thank you for this comment slash question. Yes, there are certain misconceptions from time to time, but we work really diligently to communicate this message to the public. Professor Hayrettin Karaman, in his columns, also he tries to promote what we do, and we try to offer our products, our services to as many people as possible, and hopefully people will come to understand this. But like you said, we will continue to promote ourselves, our services, and we will aspire to generate value whilst we
daha
do
bilgili
that.
olsunlar. Tamam, tamam.
so much. Thank you very much for this comment.
Buyurun siz.
Please. Microphone, please.
Allah razı olsun.
Holding'in CFO'su
Now, I am a CFO of a holding, and regarding shareholders' questions, I have 3 questions that I'd like to ask you, and I'd like this to be registered in the minutes of this meeting. One, shareholders of our meeting, some of us, Mustafa Boydak, Memduh Boydak, Şükrü Boydak, Erol Boydak, Hacı Boydak, İlyas Boydak, these have been affiliated with the Gülenist terrorist organization. There have been some allegations against them, and they have been given convictions by courts of first instance, and this has been approved by the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Cassation also stepped in, and all of these developments have had a negative impact on our bank, the number of our clients and our loans. Has there been a negative impact? I'd like to ask you about this. And secondly, these shareholders that I have cited, as per Turkish Penal Code, bearing in mind their current state of affairs, as per banking regulations, should there be any precautionary action? What does the BRSA say about this? Have you been in touch with them? If so, what have they indicated regarding their position? And there was a cancelled GA previously, and we received in February a notification, and have there been any steps taken as per that
Hissedarlar konusunda hissedar temsilcimiz
development?
burada,
Well, regarding shareholders, our shareholders representative is here, or they will get back to you in written form later on. But as employees of the bank, as you know, we are in touch with the BRSA and all the other relevant state bodies, and we do our best to compound our numbers. That's what I can tell you. We continue to work tirelessly, and that's what I can tell you right now. Any other questions, please? Now, with your permission, then, let us adjourn the session. We thank you very much for your participation. Thanks for coming all the way, and we hope to see you at some other time. We wish you every success and lots of good health. Thank you and goodbye.
Isn't this lovely?
Ya, çok. Adam haklı çıktı adam. Dedi ya, size sıra bile gelmez dedi. Almost.
That's
Bak
not what we
Esra.
exactly meant.
Yeah. Ama bunu onu da anlamaz. Bunu söyleyelim, yollayayım diyeyim hemen. Bilsin.
Biraz much ado about nothing gibi bir şey
Oldu.
şu an.
Ama olsun, bilemezdik ki. Ama onun hiç haberi yoktu yani. Duymamıştı 2 kabin şeyini. Neyse.
İyi ki bunları çevirmişler ha.
Tabii.
Yani tam bir
Mümkün değil
rezalet.
tabii. Okurken bile insan mahvoluyor. Neyse, geçmiş olsun canım. Short and sweet.